Nice to be streaming on a Wednesday here. So I just got off work. I have a doctor appointment here in like 40 minutes. So I figured I'd stream for like half an hour, let people know what's going on, see if anyone wanted to talk about anything. Now, I'm in a parking lot and I have Wi-Fi, so we're running off the phone here. I'm not sure how well the reception will be, so I'll ask people periodically if we get any viewers. Right now we're on 0 viewers, so I'm talking to no one. But there's a hope that someone will watch this in the future and look back at this and say, wow, that Rob in their 2024, what a man. Peak masculinity and intelligence. That's what he brought to the table. Also, I just did a TikTok video and I noticed I had a stain on my shirt. But the appointment I'm going to is physical therapy, so I was told to wear kind of dumpy clothes that are comfortable. So that's what I'm doing. So just joining, the 2 people just joining, I will be here for about a half an hour. Someone let me know if the connection's coming through all right, because if it's real choppy, we'll just end this. But hopefully it's coming through and everyone could hear me well. So a bit of an update tonight. Good. Excellent. Tonight I'll be doing a debate, and I got to be honest, it's a debate that I'm really no interest in doing, but I'm doing to be a Republican. I'm excited for it. I feel like I had this exact same debate a couple weeks ago where on Rampage Paul's channel, me and EOD debated Jeb Tan and Connor, and we basically had this same discussion, and we talked about, Trump, the charges against Trump and how they hate Trump and all of that good stuff. So apparently, what's up with my car? What about it? Is something weird about it? I'm just in the rain. I'm sitting in a parking lot. I don't know. So guy reached out and said, will you do this debate? So it's going to be Jeb Tan, Connor again, me again. And this time we've added Gibbs and Phil KOE and Tiberius D. But it's basically going to be the same discussion. So I told the guy who was hosting it, I said, maybe you want to find someone different than me to kind of have a different perspective on it. But no, it's going to be me again. So that's what the stream will be tonight. And, I feel like it's, sort of grist for the mill. Everyone wants me to yell at Connor because he worked for this progressive PAC. And I feel like I got that out last time. We talked about that. But whatever, I guess we'll bring it up again. I think the topic's going to be a little more diverse. I think it's going to be, what does it mean to be a Republican? Oh, no. I'm sorry, George. I'm in the car doing an update about my channel. I'm sorry. No, the car's fine. Well, actually not completely fine. I'll articulate in a second. But so it's 2 parts, I think. What does it mean to be Republican? What does it mean to be conservative? The irony of all of this is I don't give a shit what it means to be a Republican at all. At all. In fact, there's probably a solid case to be made that being Republican is like being like Mitt Romney or Mitch McConnell. Basically a sellout sack of shit. You're not fiscally conservative. You don't give a shit about your constituents. That's sort of the average Republican. So I'm not going to come up here and go to bat like with some purity test that's like, this is what it means to be Republican. And like, I don't care. Like, I don't really care about that. By the technical definition, is Ron Paul a Republican? Maybe not. That's who I like. So, I don't see the utility in the discussion that much. Theoretically, whoever the leader of the Republican Party in the direction it is at the time can claim to be Republican. It'd be like saying, what does it mean to be a Pittsburgh Pirate? Well, you're on the Pirates. And you could say, well, I think Pirate baseball is about strong pitching. And it's like, oh, well, this year they don't have strong pitching, so they're not real Pirates. Well, no, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's like a team thing. I don't care. Conservative's different. I think conservative has a more stable definition. But I don't even consider myself to be the most staunch conservative. I am conservative, but I'm more populist libertarian than I am conservative. So, I mean, these purity tests mean nothing for me. I'm more interested in the specific fact that there are people on the Republican side that are allowing their hatred of Trump, and for many reasons that they dislike him, many of which are legitimate, but they allow their hatred of Trump to overlook the bigger problem, which is the entire corrupt system that's attacking Trump. You don't have to be a Trump fan to say what is going on is insanely corrupt and more dangerous than Trump. That's to me the bigger concern, but that's not really the question of the debate. So I'm afraid that I'm being put on a side with Gibbs and Phil KOE where they're expecting me to come in and just be like, you guys aren't Republicans, you guys aren't real conservatives. That's not really my argument. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm sort of, it's not that I'll debate every night. That's what I like doing best. So it's not that I mind doing the debate. It's just I wish the topic was different because I feel like it's just retreading ground that I did just a couple weeks ago. Now, there was one problem with my car. I got a flat tire the other day, and because I had winter tires on, they had to replace all 4 tires, and it was an expense that I wasn't expecting at the time. But, you know, I've been working some overtime, so we had some money saved up. So thankfully, we were able to pay for that. And it could have been a lot worse. So, you know, yay, $800 later, I got tires on the car. It would have had to happen. I mean, that's the sort of expense like tires, brakes, stuff like that. You're gonna have to pay for eventually anyway. So, but yeah, that was the update on that. In other news, so the plan should be that I'll be streaming Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week. Trying to do live streams every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So hopefully I will keep that up. I'm also trying to put out every day on YouTube here around noon. You'll see a new video come out. Most of the time that'll be clipped from some of my live streams. But I'm trying to put up one TikTok a day, which I'll also eventually put up on YouTube later in the day. You know, it's kind of funny. Everyone talks, you know, trash on TikTok, and for rightfully so. If I had to choose between the government of China or the government of the United States misusing my personal data, I guess I'd choose the government of the United States for whatever that's worth. But it's not good either way. So there are a lot of criticisms with TikTok that I agree with. I just feel that my information is so out there in public anyways, that TikTok's an area that I could reach into and see a different sort of audience that maybe could help grow my other channels, which are more important to me, and reach a group of people, particularly younger people, sort of with my political message that maybe otherwise wouldn't get it. But I totally understand the people that are like, I refuse to download TikTok and don't want to use it. I get that. Anyways, one positive thing about TikTok, I just had a video on there yesterday that's got 26,000 views. The same video I put on YouTube got 30 views. I don't know what that means. Does it mean that I'm being throttled on YouTube? I mean, obviously it's not going to be a one-to-one comparison. I get that. But I just get no traction on my short-form videos on YouTube at all. None at all. And I understand some of them because, like, the TikToks that I'm putting up there, it's like I don't really have, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't have thumbnails and things like that maybe I could put a little more time into. But the videos that are being clipped from my debates that are like 10, 15 minutes, Black Elk does a tremendous job putting intros, putting thumbnails, and I'm still getting like 100 views. So it's a little frustrating. With YouTube, I've been on since what, like 2018, 2019, that I get almost no traction. And then I start a YouTube account and I put 15 videos up there. And by video 15, I'm getting 25,000 views, which isn't like the greatest amount of views ever. And I know it counts views a little differently because it, like, if you just stop on the video for like half a second, it might count as a view. But nonetheless, it's clear to see. I think that video has thousands of likes as well. So, just a little frustrating. So anyways, long story short, I plan on continuing to do short form YouTube or TikTok content that's like 2 to 3 minute videos. I just put one up. Hopefully it loaded. Yeah, I don't think I get notifications on YouTube. I hear that a lot. Half my videos get demonetized for no reason. The debate tonight will be me, Phil KOE, and Admiral Gibbs, basically on the same side, versus Jebtan, Connor, and Tiberius D. And it'll be on what does it mean, what is a Republican and what is a conservative. Again, the topic itself I do not find interesting at all. Hopefully, one of the things I think that I'm good at is making it interesting. So I know that we'll find something that we can disagree with. But, you know, I would by far wish we were debating like a topic relevant to today more, like the Trump trial in New York. I would love to be debating that, and hopefully I could steer it in that direction. So yeah, the Trump trial, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I know that the experts are saying that there's a chance of a hung jury. I would say that the only 2 outcomes that I could see, I would be shocked if it's not one of these 2 outcomes. I put it at about a 10 to 15% chance of a hung jury and then an 85% chance of Trump being found guilty. The deck is stacked. It's absurd for a litany of reasons. What more is there to say? We can get into the details specifically of what went on in that trial. By the way, if someone's still watching, remind me at 2:30. That's when I have to end this video. So 20 minutes from now. I have to end this video and go to my physical therapy appointment. Physical therapy for my back. I herniated a disc, and so I'm trying to get back into it. So anyways, it's on its face blatantly absurd. It just is. I've been warning of this. I've been talking about the corrupt double standards. I don't even know where to start with this. Let's start with this. One of the things I said over and over again was, would we have been better off had Trump never been elected in 2016? Now, obviously, if you're near my political persuasion, you would say, of course not. I think Trump did okay, and Hillary would have been a disaster, and that's true. But by exposing the corruption, not because Trump was playing 4D chess, but because he was seen as a potential outsider, and so all of these institutions came together to be corrupt, the mainstream media, academia, people in the entertainment industry, our intel agencies, judges, juries, etc. Orange Man bad, do anything possible to stop him. It was all outed. And because no one, and I mean no one, was held to account, the worst you could say is Kevin Klein-Smith, who changed evidence to the opposite of the truth to spy on the president of the United States. He got a slap on the wrist, and he's already back to practicing law. I just read, by the way, I believe a settlement has been reached with Peter Strzok and Lisa Page with the Department of Justice, where they sued and will now be being paid because their privacy was violated because their text messages talking about boning each other and having an insurance policy to stop Trump were released to the general public. That's right. They committed treason. They committed a coup. They were using their position as an insurance policy to illegally go after Trump and spy on him to try to prevent him from becoming president of the United States. And they're going to end up richer for it. They're going to win a lawsuit. That's what's going on. No one was held to account. And so the question becomes, are we worse off because of that? Had Trump never been there, yes, the corruption would have continued, but it was like the frog in the boiling pot theory, where they're only upping the temperature in the corruption little by little by little by little. Once Trump was elected, it went to 10 or 11 if you're a Spinal Tap fan. Through the roof. And no one was held accountable. And so now they're like, we don't give a shit. And this weird thing happens where, because the Republican, well, keep in mind, it's not really a Republican versus Democrat thing, because the establishment Republican people hate Trump as well. And it's not because Trump's a big threat to them or ideologically different to them. That's not what it's about. He is seen as a potential outsider. The Republican and Democratic parties at the top level are the same. They want to maintain hegemony on power. They don't want any outsiders coming in. So the establishment Republican Party at the leadership level, your Mitt Romneys, your Mitch McConnells, your Paul Ryans, they all hated Trump. It wasn't because his hair or because of his vulgar language. That's not why they hated him. They hated him because they're like, this is our party. We're in charge. We want to keep our phony baloney jobs with the Democrats and pretend we hate the Democrats but never do anything, and all the important things, such as selling out the wealth of the American people, open borders, forever wars, etc. We're going to keep those rolling. We don't want someone outside of that to expose, even accidentally, how corrupt it is. So that's why they're fine with the takedown of Trump. They're absolutely fine with it. That's what's going on. But the Republican Party, even those that aren't corrupt, they're not good at sharing a narrative and messaging to the average person. And so what happens is, because they're not good at sharing this narrative, and you could go way back to my videos in 2019, 2020, with the impeachment, the first impeachment trial of Trump, where I was articulating exactly why what Trump did wasn't impeachable, because there was an underlying crime that was being investigated, which was the corruption of Joe Biden and his quid pro quo in Afghanistan. And we should have withheld, to Ukraine. We should have withheld aid to Ukraine until they cooperated with that investigation. But the Republicans weren't making that argument at first. Finally, in the Senate, they started to make that argument. Why are the Republicans so bad at messaging? Well, one, because they suck. And second, because at the leadership level, they don't want to help a potential outsider like Trump. And so this amazing thing happens because people like me, I might be good at the message, and I think I am, and I debate it all the time, but I'm only reaching a limited audience. And because the people that have the ability to reach a bigger audience, for whatever reason, because the systems are corrupt, they're being shadow banned, they're being demonetized, whatever, they're not making inroads that are successful enough to allow sort of real world change. And so then this amazing thing happens. Even with me, I see this happening. Once you hear the same things from the same people over and over again, or the same types of things, it sort of becomes redundant, and you just don't care anymore. Like, if it rains 6 inches of rain at your house one day, you might say, wow, that's bad. But if it does it every day for like 3 months, you no longer care. It's no longer a big story. And that's what happens. The corruption is in your face so much every day that it's just mundane at this point. Oh, well, now we're at the point, if I would have told you 8 years ago that one of the candidate for president of one of the political party would be fraudulently locked up months before the election over a prosecutor that promised to go after them, and the Democratic Party would be doing speaking events outside the trial and outlined how corrupt it was, and it was a crime that was past the statute of limitations, it was nothing, and was looking at 130 years in prison. You would have said, that's nuts, that can't happen in the United States. That's where we are, and there's like hardly an outcry. We have gotten to the point where the corruption has accelerated so much that this is just accepted. They didn't even allow cameras in the court. So all of the reporting you hear is secondhand. And even with me, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you shouldn't just trust what I say. I understand not everyone has time. And that's another thing why the left is so dedicated, right? Like, many of them, this is their full-time job, particularly the people I stream with, or they're unemployed or whatever. Those of us that have families, that have lives, that have hobbies, that have communities, it's hard to sit down and watch a month-long trial, or to read transcripts, or to read IG reports. It's difficult. It's even difficult for me, and I enjoy it. So imagine that you don't enjoy it. Who's going to do that? But what I find oftentimes is, like when a report comes out, and I'll see even people I like that are talking about it, when I read it myself, I pick out different things. And I'm like, wait a minute, what about this? I haven't heard anyone say about it. It's something that I think that I'm good at, and I try to usually put a spin on things that I haven't heard. Now, not always, but a lot of times that's what I try to do. So that's what theoretically you should be doing in this trial. But you can't, because there's no cameras allowed there. They're trying to lock up the former president, which has never happened, even for a day, and the front runner for president next time for 130 years. And you can't even watch the trial. So instead, you have to go to people that are able to be in the trial and listen to their reporting. I think one of the best people in the country of this is Jonathan Turley. Now, full disclosure, Turley is biased, as every human being is. And he has exhibited a propensity to be biased a little bit in favor of Trump. But I think that that bias is remarkably smaller than most of the other legal commentators that you hear. And he's a constitutional law scholar who's been brought many times in front of committees in Congress. And he's measured in his response. He ain't some blowhard like me that's coming out, this is treason, let's go. He's more measured. And you could see, if you read Turley a lot, that he's just flabbergasted by how corrupt this is. But the American people will never get to see it. What they're going to get to see is guilty. That's it. This will be overturned on appeal, but it doesn't matter. That will be months down the road. And whoever overturns it will be attacked, like Alito, like Gorsuch, like Thomas. Remember when they said, when Trump would say, I don't like this judge, I think he sucks, and everyone said, that violates norms. My God, you can't do that. That will endanger them. Democrats now, did you know Alito's wife put up the call to heaven tree flag? Oh my God. He should be locked up. He shouldn't be allowed to rule on anything anymore. Notice they didn't have word one to say when Ginsburg, not her husband, not her wife, not her sister, not her mom, but Ginsburg didn't hang up a flag, didn't make some symbol, went to the media and expressed how much she hated Trump. And yet they didn't call for her to be recused. So that's what's going to happen. It doesn't matter. because they control the narrative and the messaging that so many Americans get to see. Americans are just, they're not going to watch the trial. You weren't even able to watch the trial. All you'll know is Trump's guilty, and any judge that says otherwise is corrupt. And they'll be excluded from polite society. Even though there's questions with Epstein Island with Alan Dershowitz, one of the things Dershowitz talks about that's worth listening to, he talks about how he was the big man. He got to go to all the highfalutin parties and all the upper class stuff till he started to defend Trump. Then it was, and that's the way our system works. It's how it works in Hollywood. It's how it works in academia. That's how it works in wealthy circles. You live in Martha's Vineyard. You live in Aspen. You think you could be a Trump supporter? You're some wealthy? You think you go into the local? Of course not. Now, it's starting to change somewhat, but that's the way it is. So I could sit here in great detail and debate anyone on it, and I will. Hopefully I line up some more debates on how corrupt this trial has been. But it's irrelevant. Who's going to hear it? The truth is, right now, your friend, you probably have a friend, and by the way, I know this separates me from some people. I have many left-wing friends. Many friends on the right, some too, that hate Trump. Right? I am able to separate political ideology from personal relationships. Now, there may become a time where I end up going to prison because we continue to go down this path and corrupt Democrats decide to silence anyone who disagrees with them. That could happen. We live in a world with, that sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory. It's not that crazy. We have people you have people, Trump supporters going to jail for memes. Just look at the UK. They don't have a First Amendment. Oh, you said something racist, go to prison. Well, who defines what's racist? Oh, you said something that's transphobic, go to prison. Who defines what's transphobic? I don't think I say anything that's racist. I don't think say things that are transphobic, etc. I don't call for violence. None of that. It won't matter. If I ever become effective enough, I'll be attacked. Remember, everyone stood by when it happened to Alex Jones. That's the future we're looking at unless something radically changes. Nonetheless, at this point in my life, I have left-wing friends. Ask them, what's the charge? What was the crime Trump committed? Well, he falsified business records. Right. But the statute of limitations of that ran out. He didn't falsify business records. But even if that was the case, it's only a crime if he did so to conceal an underlying crime. So what was the underlying crime that Trump did? They can't tell you. You know how I know they can't tell you? Because the prosecution and the judge couldn't tell you. Instead, they said, well, here's a bunch of things it could have been. And it doesn't matter if the jury agrees or not, says the judge. As long as you think there was one thing that he covered up that may have been a crime, whatever you think that may be, good enough. Now, yes, we live in a society where the rule of law should be applied equally. But we're also pragmatic. We also understand the real world doesn't necessarily work that way. For example, if you're a billionaire, you could probably provide for a better defense than if you weren't. And so there are all sorts of inequalities, or inequities, let's put it that way, in our legal system. Some things we can control for, some things we can't. Some things we should work on, some things you just accept. However, in this particular case, when we're talking about the President of the United States, possibly frontrunner to be the president next time, and was the previous president, you would expect the threshold for the first time that you're looking to send a former president to prison for 130 years, you'd expect that threshold to be remarkably higher than if it was the average person accused of something similar. And instead, it's the exact opposite. And by the way, it's been that way ever since Trump came down the escalator. For you, the threshold should be very high for the United States government to violate your First and Fourth Amendments by spying on you through a FISA warrant. It should be. But it should be even higher to do it to a president. And instead it was lower. They never verified the evidence. They used stuff that was paid for by the opposition. Every single time. And when you listen to the Democrats, they know what they're doing. When you listen to them, they go, well, we can't allow Trump to be elected or he'll go after his opponents. Right. He may do to them what they're doing to him. And we can't have that. That would be corrupt. Again, I go back to the Ari Melber clip. He was an MSNBC guy that before Elon bought Twitter and he was talking about it, he said, we can't have, what if this guy buys Twitter and then all of a sudden kicks off a major candidate for the party he doesn't like? And what if they shadow ban and all of a sudden throttle the messaging of the political groups that they don't like? Right. What if they do to us what we did to them? It's why and here's the messaging that should occur, because people are just baffled with bullshit. Well, there's 90-something felonies that Trump's looking at. Surely he's guilty of some of it. Surely. The framing of this should be, if even one of those is fraudulent, that's more election interference than anything Trump's been accused of. That's more of a significant wrongdoing than any of the specific crimes that Trump's accused of doing. Because that is the Democratic Party, and make no mistake, even though Joe Biden and his team want to say, oh, we had nothing to do with it, the DOJ's totally separate, the Bragg prosecution's totally separate. Remember, the number 3 at the DOJ left his position under Merrick Garland to go to New York to be one of the prosecutors on this case. And Biden's team held a press conference yesterday outside the trial and tried to gaslight you and say, oh, we're doing it here, not because of the trial of Trump. We just randomly chose this location, just a random choice. That's how bad they are at lying. The same people that tell you, trust us, behind the scenes, Joe Biden's the sharpest dude you'll ever meet. We can't even keep up with him. Oh, cool. Can we get the audio tapes released of his interviews with her? No, you can't have those. Why? We already have the transcript, so we know what he said. It's just how he said it, because her says he sounded like he had dementia. No, you can't see those. You can't do that. Why? They lie to you blatantly. I mean, how hard would it have been? At least don't piss on my leg if you're going to show up and use it to grandstand politically outside Trump's trial. At least admit it. Don't say, oh, we just randomly chose. There were people here. We thought we'd talk. Nonsense. Absolute bullshit. And everyone knows it. This Bragg case is a farce. I'll be talking to Connor tonight. Last time I debated Connor, he said, well, listen, the Bragg case, listen, you can't use campaign money to pay off some hooker you slept with. That's not what Trump's accused of. They're saying that he had to use campaign money. The exact opposite of what Connor believed. And instead he didn't. He used his personal funds. Therefore, he concealed a campaign contribution or campaign expenditure. It doesn't matter that Connor, you would think Connor would say, holy shit, wait a minute. So if he would have did the opposite, they would have still charged him with the crime. When I bring it up, Connor's like, well, I don't know. But that's why you wouldn't want someone sleeping around. Oh, that's the standard now? Who gives a shit? The entire history of the United States, we've never done anything remotely similar to this. Had one major political party lock up the opposition leader of the other, or the former president. Never happened in either case. But now we're going to say, well, who cares? Because, he was an adulterer, which we can't even prove. But that's where the conservatives are at now. But we can't elect Trump because of norms, because he might interfere with elections, because January 6th. It's laughable. If even one of these cases is corrupt and fraudulent, it is election interference in the most blatant way possible, worse than anything Russia was accused of doing in 2016. And that was the biggest story in the country for 4 years. It's worse than anything Trump did to his opponents. And that was the big threat of Trump and the big threat of what he would do if he's elected in 2024. And yet no one cares. No one cares at all. Sure, you all that are watching me, but you've been concerned about this stuff for 4 years, because I have. And that's what we've been talking about. Thank you, Wonder. I see that. And so it just keeps going apace, and there'll be another corrupt thing, and another corrupt thing, and another corrupt thing. And eventually this will be overturned on appeal or whatever. But it already had the job of interfering in the election. So, all right, debate tonight, 8 p.m., I think it's 8 p.m., so it should be on all my channels. This, because it's mobile, was only on YouTube, but you'll be able to watch that anywhere. Please, 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 if you just have a moment, if you're not subscribed to me on YouTube, because I'm talking to a YouTube-only audience right now, please go ahead and do that, and check out my videos that I'm putting out every noon, sometimes throughout the day, even afternoon, and give them a thumbs up. It would really appreciate it. I feel like the algorithm screws me over, so maybe if I'm getting enough thumbs up and support, maybe that's something that'll end up helping me. But look forward to seeing you all at 8 p.m. this evening. Thanks so much, everyone, and as always, have a good one.